right, good evening and welcome to the Board of Zoning Appeals for September 2023. I would like to call the meeting to order. We'll start off tonight with our prayer and pledge. If you will, please stand. Phil's going to lead us in prayer and Scott will lead us in the pledge.
Pray with me. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the town of Smyrna, and we thank you for your continual blessings over our leadership, our staff, and our first responders and residents. And we ask for your guidance during our discussions here today. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, fellas. Next item on our agenda is citizens' comments. I see none at this time. Is that right, Mitch?
That is correct.
I couldn't help but notice we have two attorneys here tonight. I guess we're doubly protected. I'll let y'all flip over who's the best, but anyway.
For the moment, I have the privilege of being in this chair.
That's right, so that makes you the counselor.
For the moment.
Item number 4 is approval of our minutes from the August 17th, 2023 meeting. Those minutes are in your packet and should be ready to go. Any corrections or additions? If not, entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
And a second. All those in favor of approval of the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are approved. Looks like tonight we have two items for new business, both special exceptions. We'll start with the, is that Ananta Investors on Cordy Drive?
Yeah, this is a special exception request to allow for a detached accessory building to be used as an apartment at 7912 Corey Drive. The property is zoned R3, which is medium density residential, a little over 10,000 square feet in size. The building was originally permitted in September of 2019 as a 336 square foot utility shed. An electrical inspection was conducted, but no building inspections occurred and has never finished the inspection process. The previous owner was the one who applied for the building permit, but the property was sold earlier this year in May. The house has recently been listed for sale in mid-August, in which staff received an email inquiry about an apartment and neighbor's backyard. Upon review of the real estate listing, the utility shed has been converted to an accessory apartment, including a kitchen, full bathroom, and bedroom. It's unknown to staff when the conversion of the building to living space occurred. This week, staff received an update as far as what was done inside the house. So a list was provided by the applicant, which showed a number of renovations, which the current owner and applicant completed as part of the renovation process. Included as part of this would be the HVAC for the shed, drywall, trim work, cabinets, vanity, flooring, tile, doors, finish hardware, appliances, tankless water heater, all of which were purposely used inside the detached shed to be converted over into living quarters. Section 7.060B of the zoning ordinance detail requirements for authorizing special exceptions, and they are detailed below. Section 7.060 of the municipal zoning ordinance lists general requirements for a zoning variance request. Those requirements and staff findings are as follows. General requirements: a conditional use permit shall be provided the board finds that it is so designed, located, and proposed to be operated so the public health, safety, and welfare be protected. So backtrack here for a second. As I mentioned, we had a couple updates this week, so some of the items in your report may not match what I'm reading off here tonight. So just keep that in mind here. So we did have some updates, and I will go through those here. Once again, talking about the located, proposed, operated so public health, safety, and welfare will be protected. Staff finds that the proposed use of a detached accessory apartment has the potential to negatively affect the health, safety, and welfare of the public due to the lack of permitting with the hazards in regards to hookup to utilities and electrical, among other potential issues that may be present due to lack of permitting. So staff really has no way to confirm whether this building is even safe to be habitable. B, will not adversely affect other property in the area in which it is located. Staff finds that the proposed use should not adversely affect other properties in the surrounding area if the building is not used for rental purposes. Is within provisions of special exceptions as set forth in this ordinance. Section 5.051.3C lists accessory apartment as a special exception in this district. Conforms to all applicable provisions of this ordinance for the district in which it is to be located, as well as provisions cited in section 7.060 and 7.061, and is necessary for the public convenience and the location planned. Staff finds that the site may be able to conform to all provisions of the municipal zoning ordinance as listed in criteria review section 7.060C. Ingress and egress to the property. Access to the site would utilize the existing driveway off of Corey Drive. Off-street parking and loading areas. Staff finds that the lot would provide sufficient space for off-street parking due to the size of the existing driveway, which staff estimates could have approximately 6 to 7 vehicles present at one time, so generally larger than some of the other residential driveways here we have in town. Refuse and service areas. Refuse collection would proceed in the same manner as currently. Utilities with reference to location, availability, and compatibility. This location does have access to all the necessary utilities, but does require inspections to be performed for the utilities that have been installed. So we do have sewer hooked up to this as well as water, both of which have not been inspected, already dug in, hooked up. So both of those would have to be inspected as part of this, but they are present on site. Screening, not applicable in this case. Signs, if any, and proposed exterior lighting with reference to glare, traffic, safety, economic effect, and compatibility and harmony with properties in the district. Staff finds that the proposed detached accessory dwelling unit use should fit the compatibility with the properties in the same district in reference to the above effects. Required yard and other open space. Staff finds that the yard has the necessary yard and open space as the structure is within the accessory building square footage regulations. General compatibility with adjacent properties and other property in the district. Staff finds that the use may not be compatible with adjacent properties due to other lots in the area not having a detached accessory apartment on the same parcel as the principal structure. Number 9 is not applicable in this case. In conclusion, staff finds that the lot provides sufficient space to allow for a detached accessory apartment due to the structure already existing on site and starting the permitting process. However, it never finished the permitting process, so there's a multitude of items that do need to be checked on and permitted as part of it. If approved, staff recommends putting a condition on this request that the applicant be required to pay all the applicable fees associated with the accessory dwelling unit, such as the Rutherford County Development Tax, Town of Smyrna Impact Fees, code inspection fees, etc. If approved, staff would also recommend putting a condition that the building is not to be used for rental purposes. Furthermore, any inspection that needs to be conducted shall be done by the current owner prior to selling the property and shall be done within a 1-month time frame from the meeting date. Regardless of the decision, permits will need to be required for all the work that has been completed and for any future items that need to be completed as a result of what staff finds during the inspection and permitting process. So, like I said, regardless, there's a lot of items in here that need to be permitted, and staff really can't confirm the safety of this structure as a result of such. And so that's what we're here tonight to do.
All right.
And I've got a couple pictures I'll go through as well. This is the front of the property, looking at the driveway, so just once again, driveway sufficient width and size to support such. This is looking in the backyard, so once again, the structure itself was permitted back in 2019 by the previous owner prior to the lot being sold. So the structure itself, really, we have no issue with. It was all the after effects of what's been done to it since then. So we got some kind of electrical of sorts being ran here on the side of the building. And then this is the other side of the building as well. So over here we got a bunch of other units and such that are on the building. Don't really know what is there currently today, but that's what it looks like. A couple pictures of what it looks like on the inside of the structure. So it's likely that a good bit of this will have to be removed for permitting process. Take a look behind the wall, see what's actually going on back there. And then this is a overhead view of it, taking a look at where that structure is actually located on the property. And that's all I've got.
The rear setback's not a factor there?
Correct. It's been permitted. The actual structure itself was permitted back in 2019, met all the requirements as far as that was concerned from code, so we have no issue on that.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mitch. Questions, comments from the board before we,
I just want
Public hearing.
to, just for my own edification, I want to go this one more time. In section B of our general requirements, you made it clear that it's a change from what we had now, and that is
Correct.
on A.
Correct.
It is now staff's position that this may negatively affect the health, safety, and welfare of the public.
Correct.
That's a very serious change, meaning that, there's 4 basic criteria items for our general requirements, and one of them is failing by staff recommendation.
Well, we got to do some more research this past week as a result of that, and upon taking visits to the site, checking things out, that's when we made this determination and have came to said conclusion.
I'll be taking that into tremendous consideration, being it's part of our general requirements list. All right, thank you for confirming that.
any other questions, comments from the board?
Not yet.
All right, not yet.
I had,
Okay.
well, I had one, but Mitch answered it, so it'll.
All right. So at this time, I will suspend the Board of Zoning Appeals and open a public hearing for anyone who would like to speak for or against this request. If anyone would like to speak for or against, please come to the podium, state your name, address, for the record, please, at the podium. Whoever, I mean, it doesn't matter, all 3 of you can, whoever's gonna speak is all that really needs to come up. But,
Yeah, we would just ask that the individual who speaks state their name first, and that the others refrain from speaking until they identify themselves. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
My name is Kara Hermes. I am part owner of Ananta Investors LLC, who is the property owner of this 7912 Corey Drive. So as we understood that we're a new company, we're just starting to do some fix and flips, and we are kind of new to the Smyrna, Tennessee area. We were under the impression when we purchased this property that the building had been permitted. When we purchased this property, there was no drywall in all the areas, but there was already a kitchen, there was already a section for the bedroom, there was already electrical. We also understand that there was already not only a permit for the building, but that they had also taken out a permit for electrical. Correct, Mitchell?
Correct.
Yes. So at that point in time, we didn't know that there wasn't a permit for plumbing. So we just finished out the fixtures, as you guys saw in the picture of the bathroom. I don't know if you can go back to it,
Sure.
please. So really, all of those areas were already there. This one over here at the top right is where the bedroom was. So we just kind of put some new flooring. There was already LVP down. I mean, it was basically an apartment already. We just made it prettier with our women touch. But we want to respect your rules, and we definitely don't want to be on the bad side of your, regulations. We would ask you guys to allow us to keep it as is. The building was permitted. The electrical had started on the permit. We did not change anything on the electrical side or the plumbing side that was already done with it. We just kind of made it prettier, I would say. And we would ask you guys to do this because technically speaking, a shed can have electrical and plumbing. It technically can be a livable quarters, right? So we would ask you guys to please reconsider. We would be happy to go through all the steps to get the right permits now. We will open up the drywall if you guys want to see what's behind it, but it's all R13 insulation, and I don't know what else I can tell you guys.
Okay. Any questions?
And also, this might be TMI, but the property, from the point that we acquired the property to the point that we had it listed on the market, it was about a month. So mainly, most of the renovations that we did were inside of the home. This honestly took us about 2 weeks to complete. It was super fast because everything was already in place, and it's actually already under contract. We have him kind of waiting on your decision, but he is a veteran and he's got an elderly person, and this would be a huge help for him to have this apartment. It's very small, but it's very practical. So I know that was one of the things that he really appreciated, so she could have her autonomy. I'm sorry, English second language. But so she could have a space, so she can, you know, be close enough to her family, but still have some of her own space and privacy. So we would ask you guys to please reconsider leaving it there. It's already under contract. We can provide you the information to the person that is under contract. He's a veteran, and we will be happy to go through all of the permits, pay the fees, the fines, whatever we did in order to not lose the space as a second dwelling.
Okay. Any questions from the board? So, just so that I understand, so you guys ran the plumbing from the house, or the sewer specifically? So the electric was there, the building was there, some drywall, some work, but you guys ran the sewer, right?
So the sewer line was already there. We finished out, like, we moved things around a little bit. But yes, we added the bathroom and the toilet. I think there was already a sink. There was already a sink in there. And then the kitchenette, instead of facing this way, was facing this way. So there was,
So you relocated it.
I don't know how to explain.
Okay. All right.
So there was no toilet and there was no shower. We added those our own. There was a little bit of a sink and a little kitchen. We also added hot water. There was no hot water in there. And then I think, Mitchell, can you go back to the picture before this, please? I think you pointed out this area that you said that you didn't know what that was. So this shed actually has a water heater. That is part of the mini split. It's ran electrically, so we didn't have to change. Like I said, it already had an electrical permit on it, so it already had the right voltage that it needed to have. That's part of the HVAC system, which is 2 mini splits on each side. And we updated the kitchen, the stove, I think is what it's called, to a 2, yes. And then the refrigerator was already there, so we kept that one and then added a microwave. So we kept the sink, the refrigerator, added the mini splits, added most of the bathroom because there was already sink in there.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else that would like to speak for or against?
Is it permissible for me to speak?
Sure. Just state your name for the record, please.
My name is Dennis Blair. I'm the interim building official for the town of Smyrna. When this building was set up, it was set up originally just for outside storage. So electrically, it is wired only for exterior, for storage only. So it's not, it wouldn't meet the current code requirements for a habitable space. Also, this particular structure would not meet the requirements for framing and structural building for a habitable space too. So, I mean, they would have to do a lot of work for it to be made habitable. So there was no footing inspection, there was no framing inspection.
That's what I was going to ask. There's no footing, right? It's just sitting on top of the ground.
That's right, it's just sitting on the ground. So, no, and as far as the electrical, the only thing that was required would have been some lighting for exterior door. That there was no HVAC when it was a storage building. There was, obviously, there's no egress or no additional egress for a habitable space, so it just has a lot of problems.
And you guys haven't inspected
We
this
haven't
from-
inspected any of that other than for a storage building.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was actually going to be my question, was the electrical inspection that was conducted. But he cleared that up. It was simply for its current use at that
Right.
time, which was a shed. Okay, thank you.
All right. Anyone else that would like to speak for or against this request? Sure, come back up.
Are you allowed to speak to us?
Sure.
Thank you. I understand your concerns. And we want to go through those process. We would ask you guys to reconsider leaving it, and we will, even if we have to strip all the drywall, refoot everything, we would pour, resources into making it to a point that you would be comfortable and satisfied with.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you. All right, anyone else? Not seeing anyone, we will close the public hearing and reopen the Board of Zoning Appeals. So my first comment that I'll make is often when we as the council are looking at developments or buildings or subdivisions or anything like that in the community, we look for, does it fit in the area? That's one of the primary things we use, tools we use. We have kind of an idea of layering, you know, you have apartments and you have single family, you have condos, and those fit in certain areas. And that's the first thing I noticed in the overhead view. One, none of the houses in the overhead view, which shows, I think, 8 or 10 houses, even have an external shed, much less an accessory apartment in the same area. So I'm not sure that this use fits in the neighborhood that it's in. May be allowed by right or by special exception, but I'm not sure that it fits the community that it's in. My other concern is I built a garage behind my house personally and went through the permitting process, and to get this into code, to have footings, et cetera, it's significant. Concrete footings would have to be dug and poured. You know, it's really completely rebuild. It's not really just scrape some drywall off and show us what you've done. I don't think that's, I don't even know if this building could get there. I think you'd pretty much have to rebuild. But that's a codes discussion. They would have to go through that process if you guys saw fit. So that's my comments. I'm not sure that it fits the area. I understand outbuilding, electrical, I get that, but the amount of power that they're pulling out to that building is almost like its own service, probably 100 amp service that they would need, or at least with a split unit, everything, and then the plumbing tying in off the house, another additional bathroom, all of that. There's a lot to do there.
Even on a broader picture, it's probably one of only 2 outbuildings in that whole neighborhood. From a fits standpoint.
I know that we have considered, these kind of in-law quarters or whatever you want to call them recently. We've been getting quite a bit of these. Part of that's because of house prices and how things have increased, but I think in every case, I think this is the first time we've seen anything quite like this. In every case, they've been attached accessories, garage space that they're converting, stuff like that. It's more of a structure and not just an outbuilding. So I think this is the only one that I can remember seeing anything like this. So from a consistency perspective, which I know we always like to try to do, I'm not sure we have anything to compare this to.
No, and it being quite disappointing to the applicant, that they've done all this work. Normally, when we do take on those that you're speaking of, it's at the beginning of the process.
Right.
So they were able to take the structure and make sure before they make any improvements to it that it's meeting everything with inspections. So, we've heard staff recommendation today that we believe that this actually may be a danger to the public. We've heard that it looks like, it sounds to me, it needs to be built from the ground up again. I don't see how you can do any of the inspections we need, including the footers, without almost completely removing the structure. I feel comfortable going ahead and moving that we deny this application, but we can certainly see if anyone agrees and wants to have further discussion. But I'm going to move that based on staff comments here today, that a major general requirement was not met and that it may negatively affect health, safety, and welfare, and even hearing with staff comments that we have possible dangerous situations with unpermitted electrical, I'm going to move to deny this.
We have a motion to deny the request based on staff comments. Do we have a second?
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of denial, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the request has been denied. Second item on our agenda tonight is another special exception, Gisela Rodriguez, Northampton Court. So Mitch?
Yeah, this is another, we got accessory apartment as well. This applicant has requested for an attached accessory apartment at 111 Northampton Court. Property zone R2, low density residential, about 14,138 square feet in size. The applicant wishes to convert attached garage to living space for familial purposes. There's also an additional 12 by 13 space behind the garage to be included as part of the accessory apartment. As part of the living space, the applicant would like to add a bedroom, bathroom, kitchen, dining room, and living room. Section 7.060B of the zoning ordinance detail requirements for authorizing special exceptions, and they are detailed below. Section 7.060 of the municipal zoning ordinance lists general requirements for a zoning variance request. Those requirements and staff findings are as follows. A conditional use permit shall be provided. The board finds that it is so designed, located, and proposed to be operated so the public health, safety, and welfare be protected. Staff finds that the proposed use of an accessory apartment would not negatively affect the health, safety, and welfare of the public. Will not adversely affect other property in the area in which it is located. Staff finds that the proposed use should not adversely affect other property in the surrounding area. Is within provisions of special exceptions as set forth in this ordinance. Section 5.051.2C lists accessory apartment as a special exception within this district. Conforms to all applicable provisions of this ordinance for the district in which it is to be located, as well as provisions cited in section 7.060 and 7.061, and is necessary for public convenience in the location planned. Staff finds that this site may be able to conform to all provisions of the municipal zoning ordinance listed in criteria review section 7.060C. Ingress and egress to the property. Access to the site would utilize the existing driveway off of Northampton Court. Off-street parking. Staff finds that the lot would provide sufficient space for off-street parking. Refuse and service areas. The refuse collection would proceed in the same manner as currently. Utilities, with reference to location, availability, and compatibility. This location does have all the necessary utilities available on site. Screening is not applicable in this case. Signs, if any, proposed exterior lighting with reference to glare, traffic, safety, economic effect, and compatibility and harmony with properties in this district. Staff finds that the proposed accessory dwelling unit should fit the compatibility with properties in the same district with reference to the above effects. Required yard and other open space. Staff finds that this yard has the necessary yard and open space as the structure is attached to the principal structure and can meet the setbacks. General compatibility with adjacent property and other property in the district. Staff finds that the use may not be compatible with adjacent property due to other lots in the area not having an accessory apartment on the same parcel as the principal structure. Number 9 is not applicable in this case. And in conclusion, staff finds that the lot provides sufficient space to allow for the accessory apartment due to it being attached to the principal structure. If approved, staff recommends putting the conditions on the request that the applicant be required to pay all applicable fees associated with an accessory dwelling unit, including but not limited to the Rutherford County Development Tax, Town of Smyrna impact fees, code inspection fees, etc. Staff would also recommend putting a condition that the building not be used for rental purposes. So this is the house in question. So I got another picture up close. So garage they're intending to turn into living space, and there's this extra space in the back in which they would be using as part of this space as well. So all part of the existing house, attached, meeting setbacks, and that's all I got.
Okay, so yeah, so I guess the overhead picture doesn't show the additional already behind the garage, right?
Yeah, it's a small area.
Yeah, so right there's where, okay, that's where
Yeah.
it's going, okay. I was trying to figure out, I was like, where's the?
Yeah, it's in line. It's
Yeah.
just a small little.
I got you, okay. Any questions or comments for Mitch before we go to a public hearing? All right, not seeing any, we will suspend the Board of Zoning Appeals and open a public hearing for anyone who would like to speak for or against this request. If you would like to.
No, sorry. Is it okay if I ask my mother for any concerns that she has? I only act as an interpreter here.
Yeah.
My mom is the
Sure.
party.
Sure.
¿Tienes algún comentario o pregunta que hacerle a esta tabla sobre tu propiedad aquí?
¿Qué quiere que te pregunte?
Cualquier comentario, punto que te gustaría dar a favor de este movimiento. Yo creo que el señor Westman lo ha hecho todo bien.
Ok, sí, por favor.
Well, we believe that Mr. Westman has done a perfect job at explaining the situation.
Okay.
I would like to.
All right,
give
thank you. Anyone else? Not seeing anyone, we will close the public hearing and reopen Board of Zoning Appeals for discussion.
It sounded pretty straightforward to me. Everything Mitch said was it's able to meet every ordinance we have, so there's not much discussion here. Unless anybody has some, I'm happy to go ahead and move that we approve this special exception for the attached accessory apartment to include all staff comments in the conclusion section as they were presented here during this meeting.
Member, does that include the conditions?
Yes,
recommended?
everything in the conclusion section, all staff comments in there as it was presented during the meeting.
Do we need to state those
Do
conditions,
we
or are we
need to
good?
state it?
I
Yeah.
think that'd be great.
Yeah, if you could.
Sure, absolutely. That there be a condition on the request that the applicant will be required to pay all applicable fees associated with an accessory dwelling unit, including Rutherford County Development Tax, Town of Smyrna impact fees, codes inspection fees, et cetera. And we also will add a condition that the building not be used for rental purposes.
All right, we have a motion with conditions that have been laid out. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
We have a second. All those in favor of approval of the request, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the request is approved. All right, next item on is staff comments or other business. Do we have any? See none, then we will stand adjourned. Thank you, folks.
Man, that beer just, you want to go strong and quick? I like it.
You know, I know it's a
Don't
change.
mess around.
But both of these were very straightforward. There's just nothing.
We just didn't.